Begin the mission.
Veterans make absolutely no sense. On one hand, they're the ones who keep an online game alive. They can help grow a community, and a few of them make online content that helps bring in potential new players while helping out the less skilled or experienced players to improve. All very good things. But then, there are the veterans who, in a way, don't know what they want, especially for older games with smaller online player bases. They often or periodically complain on how long it takes for them to find a full lobby to start a match, or why their game receives so little support from developers or publishers, or that their game receives so little recognition. And yet, at the same time, complain when new players actually decide to try out the game because they lack the same level of skill, experience, and knowledge of the game as they do. What the hell do you want? Seriously, do you want more people to be interested in playing the game, or do you want it to be kept small, where it takes you a long time before you can find a full lobby to start a match? It's like some of these veterans have their memories wiped from when they started playing a game for the first time. And if the veterans were able to play a game on launch, they fail to understand that newer players clearly don't have that same advantage of playing a game on launch when everyone was starting off on the same level, and before any established metas had a chance to take shape. When a game is first released is when there is generally more interest and excitement. It's when players are able to experiment more freely without being judged by meta players who conform to an online social dogma. To keep players interested and invested weeks, months, even years after launch, developers and publishers search for new things to add along with any quality of life features. But almost as important is the community, and whatever metas there may be. Now, obviously, as time goes by, the veteran players who stay with the game improve and become more skilled, while more casual players move on to something else. This is normal, and there's nothing wrong with this. And unfortunately, when newer players try an older game, even a game that's just a few months old, they can expect to experience a notable skill gap when playing against veterans. There are different skill ranks and ratings players are placed in to help solve this. But the older a game, the smaller the player base and less low-skilled players newcomers can be matched up with or against. And so, noobs can expect a much more difficult experience when first starting an online game. There's just no way around this. Sure, some games have bots, but playing against bots doesn't exactly give the same experience compared to playing against other players. The problem, however, comes from the expectations many veterans have for newer players. It's a lot like how a lot of jobs and hiring managers now expect new job applicants to have 2 to 5 years of experience for an entry-level position. They're new players. Of course they're going to make mistakes. They don't know what weapons to use, or what characters or classes to select and how best to use them. They're also not going to know what the best places on a map are going to be either. It reminds me of a time when I was working at a previous job, where I somehow accidentally found myself in a position where I had to train new hires. My job had just created a new night shift that was essentially a skeleton crew. There were others who could have also helped train the new hires, but one of them was busy going bowling with one of the supervisors while he was still on the clock, so we were stretched thin. Anyway, a lot of these new hires were fresh out of high school or still pretty young. Me and some of the more experienced workers saw a lot of the mistakes made by the new hires. But it was clear right from the start that for any mistakes they made, that we were going to be questioned if we had done our jobs instructing them on the things they should and shouldn't do. This was also during the pandemic. So I myself had to make sure that social distancing rules made by the company were being followed. Yeah, this was not fun. It was easy to get frustrated with them at the start for making mistakes that I felt were common sense. I wish I can give you very specific examples, but I signed an NDA and I feel I already said too much. Although, maybe not enough about the employees who went off bowling while still on the clock, and leaving others behind to carry their workload, among a few others. So, maybe someday. Maybe someday. Moving on, in order for me to properly train them, I had to constantly remind myself that they were not me. The new hires did not know what I knew, nor did they have the same level of experience that I had. Even if I thought they knew, I still had to double check by doing daily walkthroughs of what we all had to do. In time, they all eventually became pretty good workers. And I'd say, despite having a skeleton crew for the night shift, we were more consistent than the day shift. Fast forward to some 3 months later, we end up getting a brand new hire. Just the one. And just like the previous new hires that came before, this guy made some mistakes. He didn't know where certain things were, didn't know where other things went. He was a noob. Still, this guy was a good worker and learned everything fairly quickly. But then, I noticed all the new hires who came before him shaking their heads at him whenever he made a mistake or struggled to do something. I immediately went up to them to explain that frustration they all felt towards him was what I felt towards them. Except for me, it was for all of them, all at once. And I had very little help. Instead of shaking your heads at a newbie making a mistake, how about actually helping them? Because if they make mistakes, guess who has to clean up after them? The veterans. A lot of veteran players across various games, across various genres, make this same mistake. Yes, noobs are going to make mistakes. They might even cost you a win or two. Such is life. There are other things in the world actually worth getting mad at. You can't exactly expect them to come into a game that's years old, where all the veteran players are playing at a higher level, to be able to do well on their first match. The time we spend complaining about how noobs hold us back could be better spent giving the newbies some pointers. Just a thought. I'm aware that there are also some players who would much rather prefer not to show noobs the ropes, because that would welcome more competition. If it's a free-for-all game mode, then that makes sense. But if it's a team-based game, then this line of thinking only adds more frustration in the long run. Sure, some games make it easier to communicate with players than others do. A game like Warframe makes it really easy to communicate, and it has a mostly helpful community. Mostly helpful, anyway. As for other games, yeah, sorry, I get it. Maybe it's not even the fault of the players, it's just the way the game is built, and it's hard to get around the limitations. Regardless, what I'm trying to get at is that this frustration a lot of veterans feel towards noobs really comes down to a skill issue. A lack of patience skill issue. Whether in a game or in real life, patience is a skill that requires practice, and a lot of us struggle with it. It might sound silly, but practicing this skill can actually help you move up in the world. Think of the difference between a good manager and a bad one. Good managers generally have more patience, and workers generally don't mind working for them. It doesn't mean they're not going to call you out if you do something you're not supposed to. It just means they'll actually take the time to explain things to you. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Having patience does not mean letting yourself be a pushover. How does this relate to video games? Simple. We have all run into that one player who tries barking orders at everyone, but lacks the patience when things don't go their way. Some veterans, not all, but some, act like the managers and supervisors who really only seek out the promotions for the titles and not the responsibilities that come with it. Being a leader means also being a teacher in some ways. That kind of approach is what could help create a better gaming community and help you win, and why some veteran players need to add more skill points to their patience category. After all, it's more likely that more veterans have caused you to lose a match than noobs ever have. I don't expect this to somehow magically change how players interact online, or for someone to turn into a good Samaritan offering new players in a lobby free help. Instead, think of how this could benefit you. If you ever want to start a clan in a certain game, then helping new players is a great way to recruit them, instead of just sending random invites. That's all I got. Take care and see you later.